Okay. Thank you, Stephen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call a hearing to order and acknowledge that we're in Treaty 1 territory and the home and the traditional lands of the Ojibwe, the Cree, the Dakota people, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Ron Merritt. I'll be your chairperson this afternoon, and introducing the present panel member is Mr. Doug Marks, and via Zoom is Mr. Kent Feling. Our recording secretary is Stephen Lunn, and representing the city from the assessment department is Matthew Harling, and his associate will also be sworn in. This afternoon, we'll be hearing application for revision of the assessment roll according to the Municipal Assessment Act. Matters for which revision is requested has been described in each application, and will limit the discussions to those matters. The statements that are made of this hearing are sworn in testimony, and anybody speaking in these matters must be sworn in. Please be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The board is appointed annually by City Council and is independent. Along with the city administration, we make decisions based on the evidence provided at this hearing and issue a written order that will be mailed to all the parties as soon as possible. Please note the board decision in respect to application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to application for exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included in the board's order. In respect to the hearing this afternoon, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We'll then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have. Then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each party will have the opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all evidence about the application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket this afternoon. The session will close after all applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You'll receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live stream recorded and will be part of the record. This afternoon items, we only have one on the docket, which was number 7. So I asked Mr. Lunn to swear in the assessors and also the applicant's testimony. Mr. Lunn.
Mr. Harling, please state your full name.
Matthew Harling.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And Mr. Assessor, please state your full name.
Travis Gretchen.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And Mr. Applicant, if you stand and please state your full name.
Ryan Olderos.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated.
All right, we have one item on the docket, so we're going to go to 1856 Debris Avenue. Mr. Gretchen, whenever you're ready, you can take us through this property. The floor is yours, sir.
All right. Good day, Mr. Oliveras, members of the board, Mr. Chair. The file number today is 22-3128, roll number 0400317200. The address is 1856 DeVries Avenue. The roll year is 2023, reference date April 1st, 2021, and we have an assessed value of $775,000. There's one building. The actual year built is 2007. We do have an effective year of 2008. And the difference in the actual and effective year is due to an addition that was added in 2010. The land area is 16,742 square feet. The plan area is 3,375 square feet. This is also the gross and leasable area, giving us a land to plan area of 4.96. Moving to my page 2. You'll see that they are compliant for the request for information, and we have received the mailer. As seen, there are no recent sales. The last sale was in 2010. There is a subject lease in place. Subject rent here is $12, and our model rent used is $11.71. Moving to page 3, you'll see the maps for the subject location. So it is located in the northeastern quadrant of the city. It's off La Jamodier Boulevard and close to Chief Peguis Trail. The second photo below, you'll just see a zoomed in version of the map showing where the building is situated on DeVries. Moving to page 4 and page 5, you will see a few different views for the street view. And then the bottom photo will show an overhead view of the building and the lot. I'll now move to page 6. Page 6 provides additional views for the parcel here. At the bottom photo on page 6, it'll just show that there is a below grade loading dock or loading bay. And then page 7 is just another view as well of the parcel and the access point there on DeVries. Moving to page 8, this will show our workup here. So we do have a leasable area of 3,375 square feet. Our rent is $11.71, and our potential rent is $39,521. We have a vacancy here at 3%, or we've allowed for, giving us an effective gross income of $38,335. We have 3% for expenses, and it allowed $3.85 for shortfall, giving us a net operating income of $36,795. So just to note, our NOI differs only by $1,156 from Mr. Oliveira's. So our main issue here is the capitalization rate. Our cap rate in use is 4.75%. So it is a lower cap rate. We have taken into consideration, though, that it is a newer building built in 2007. It is a relatively small building size at only 3,375 square feet. It's a single tenant building, and the tenant has occupied it since the building was built. There has been no vacancy. If you move to our page 9, we have our comparables. So our comparables range in a lease start from 2016 to 2019. The lease terms are 3 to 6 years. The leased square footages range from 2171 square feet to 4316 square feet. Average wall heights range from 11 to 17 feet. The effective year built is ranging from 1955 to 1981. And the net rent ranges from $11 to $21. We move to page 10. You will see the capitalization rates. So the city's cap rates do range the 20th to 80th percentile between 5.55 and 7.45. Our cap rate at 4.75 falls in the city's top 20th percentile. As mentioned before, the cap rate was supported by the agent size, and also that there has been no vacancy, and ultimately these factors result in a lower risk. Moving to page 11, this is just a clip from the Manitoba Assessment Act. Page 12 will show the start of the income expense. As mentioned, they are compliant with the request for information. So pages 12 to 15 will include the income and expense mailer that they have submitted. This shows a net income of $40,500 and leasable area matching ours at 3,375 square feet, resulting in our $12 subject lease in place. So the remaining pages, as mentioned, are just the additional pages from the income and expense mailer. And that concludes my presentation. I do find the value at $775,000 to be fair and equitable, and I do respectfully ask for the board to confirm the value. I am now open for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Gretchen. Mr. Oliveros, questions of the assessor?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Gretchen, are you aware that the site is not serviced?
I am aware that the site is not serviced.
Okay. And if we go to page 5 of your brief, the configuration of the site, it is quite irregular. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it is an irregular shape. As mentioned, though, there is still a decent land to plan. I think it was 4.96.
But because of that irregular shape, wouldn't that, I mean, in essence, if they wanted to build another addition to this, wouldn't that reduce the buildable area because of the configuration?
I would say that, yes, it could impact the ability to build, any large additions. However, as mentioned, there was already an addition added, and there's still adequate space for, trucking to come in, deliveries, and we do have the access to that below level or below grade loading bay. Okay.
But would you say that there's limited parking on the site because of the configuration?
I have not inspected this property, but based on the images, I would say there is adequate parking. It would seem anyways. It is a single tenant. And for their use, I don't anticipate it being an overly high traffic need for parking.
Okay. So you're saying that this type of location then wouldn't really attract the same sort of customer flow as let's just say a high traffic area?
Well, not necessarily. I'm more so saying the tenant that is in place may not need a surplus amount of parking based on using it for storage and a showroom.
Okay, let's look at the comparable, or sorry, let's go to page 8 of the brief. The inputs here are model driven, correct?
Sorry, could you say that again?
Your inputs here, so the rent, the vacancy, the expense ratio, the capitalization rate, they are model driven?
Yes, that's correct. They are model driven.
Okay. And if we go to page 9 of your evidence, are these comparables here service lots?
I do not have those notes in front of me. I would anticipate that they would be, though.
Okay. Do you happen to know what the land to building ratios are of each of your comparables?
I don't have that information with me.
Okay. Have you reviewed the site configuration of each of the comparable leases?
I have not.
Okay. So I'm going to suggest, I am going to suggest to you, I did look into each of these leases. All but 3370 Wilkes here is not serviced. And I can tell you that the configuration of these sites, in my opinion at least, is superior to the subject. So given those, wouldn't an adjustment, shouldn't we consider some type of adjustment to account for the fact that this rent that's been applied here, so should we apply some type of adjustment to sort of capture the inferiority that the subject property has in terms of its configuration and the fact that it's unserviced?
I'm just pulling up some of the comparables here. The first one that I pulled up was 1150 St. James. Just from looking here quickly on my mapping, the land to plan area would be significantly less.
Gentlemen, I'm just going to interrupt here for a second, mainly because your NOIs are close to the same. So the only difference in the subject property is going to be the cap rate. So,
Correct.
I think that, there's no sense arguing about rents.
Yes, I think it'll become more
So-
clear in my presentation as to why I'm asking these questions.
Yeah.
So I mean, I would just like to finish off.
Oh, you go right ahead.
Okay,
Go right ahead.
okay. The rents that you have, last two questions here on St. James and Sargent Avenue, those are across the street from Superstar, is that correct?
Yes, they are.
Okay, would locations across from a major grocery store like that possibly command higher rents?
I'm uncertain as to whether that would be. I mean, I think it would also depend on the use or the type of use for the building or the tenant.
Okay. All right, and just going to page 10 of your evidence here. So the cap rate that the models apply to is 4.75%.
4.75, correct.
Okay, and this is lower than any of the cap rates that have been suggested by the brokers.
Correct. It is in the top 20th of the city's percentiles, and it is also below the published rates for Colliers, CBRE, and Cushman and Wakefield. However, as mentioned, I did feel that the 4.75 was supported due to the age of the building being a relatively new building, the size being relatively small, and then also the factor that there hasn't been vacancy and the same tenant has been occupying since 2007.
Okay. And we're classifying this as sort of a industrial grade B property, correct?
Correct.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
I thank you, Mr. Marks.
My question has been answered. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Celine, any questions of the assessor?
Yes, I'm just curious about the unserviced, that this is an unserviced property. Can you tell us what services are missing from here?
Just pulling up the map here again, but it is sewer and water that are not available for the current property.
Okay, so we have electrical, obviously, the building's functioning, we have communications. We don't have sewer and water.
Correct.
Now you mentioned there was an addition put on this building. When was that addition
Yes.
put on and what size was the addition? And do you know
So
what the addition was?
based on my information here, I'm just gonna pull it up. The original, there we go. So the original building was built at 1,775 square feet. And then the addition was done in 2010, adding another 1,600 square feet.
So it was 2010 and you put on 1,600 and
1,600. Just 1,600 even.
1,600 even square
Yeah,
feet.
so original building was 1,775. So with the 1,600, it left us at 3,775 as the total square footage currently.
Awesome. You said you haven't inspected your comparables. Have you inspected any of your comparable properties at all?
I have not, no.
You haven't. Okay. Thank you. That's all my questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Travis? Yep.
Just one question. The services that aren't at the building being sewer and water, does that mean they got a septic tank and a potable water tank?
We could ask
I'm
the
not,
assessor.
I'm not aware of that.
Okay, thank you. No further questions. Thanks, Ron.
Okay. Travis, because of the subject property has got no sewer and water, do you feel as if the 4.75 cap rate is justified at that level?
I do feel that it is justified. As mentioned, it is on the lower side. However, as I covered before, the size of the building, the no vacancy, and then the age, it being a relatively new building, 2007. I feel that the cap supports it. I did try to look into the services. I couldn't really find anything as to why they weren't available. We looked in the surrounding area. There was up to Sun Valley Drive there. That's all residential and has services. On the other side is St. Moritz Road. It has services. And then across the road here is Lage, but there's a park or green space there. So there's no services on that side.
Mhm. And it's got a gravel parking lot, does it not? It looks like it's compact.
Yes, photo shows.
Plus, plus there's hydro line that runs at the rear of the property too, I guess, eh?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay, I thank you for your presentation. Ryan, your presentation for the property?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, so the subject property is at 1856 DeVries Avenue. The roll number is 04-00317 to 000, file number 22-3128. Going on to page 2 of my evidence here. We're asking the board to reduce the 2023 realty assessment for the subject property from $775,000 to $492,000. We go on to page 6 of my evidence here. I've provided an aerial map of the subject property and it is marked by the red location marker. And I provided a further a photo of the subject on the bottom of page 6. Going on to page 7 of my evidence here, the assessor has described the property accurately, but again, I do just want to mention that the site is not serviced with potable water or sanitary sewer, but I'm aware that it does have a sewage holding tank. So if that answers the question that was asked earlier, that's the information that we have. If we go on to page 11 of my evidence here, just into my analysis now, I provided some lease comparables here. They range in age from 1982 to 2000. So I understand that these buildings here are older than the subject. The leasable areas range from 2,080 square feet to 5,774 square feet. These leases were all negotiated within the reference period here. We have lease rates ranging from $7 per square foot to $8.75 per square foot. We have wall heights, average wall heights ranging from 16 feet to 21 feet. Land to building ratios ranging from 2.34 to 3.6, and all zoned M2 in comparison to the subject that is zoned M1. So M2 would have more permitted uses for it. So looking at these comparable leases, the contract rent in place for the subject is $12 per square foot. So I am comfortable applying that lease rate. However, we do feel that looking at these comparable leases, that the capitalization rate should reflect the difficulty to attain or maintain this type of income. And also considering, again, the fact that the subject property is not serviced, and in my opinion, it does have limited parking. Going on to page 12 of my evidence here, we applied a cap rate of 4% in comparison to the city that's applied a 3% vacancy rate, not cap rate. I know we've all heard the industrial capitalization rate study a few times. However, Mr. Gretchen, if you would like me to go through just some of the main points as they relate to the subject property, I can do that. If you haven't heard it as much as your colleagues, maybe.
Matt, do you want to hear it?
I'm good. I've heard it before, but
I'm fine.
Okay.
Okay,
Right. So I am just going to touch on just a few points just regarding vacancy, though. If we just go on page 8 of my list, you can all review it. I suppose after the hearing here, but we know that for a single tenant vacancy rates since 2015, the vacancy rates have ranged from 5.1% to 9.2%. And on average, the vacancy rates have the average vacancy rate during that time was 7%. For the shortfall rate, we agree with the city here. We're applying $3.85 per square foot. Non-recovered expenses, we again are continuing to apply the 7% allowance. This includes the non-recovered allowance at 5% and for structural reserves at 2%. For our capitalization rate. So again, as I mentioned earlier here, if we are going to apply a rent that is as high as the rent that is being paid for the subject property, considering the fact that there are leases in place of comparable properties that are much lower than the rent that is being paid for the subject, the cap rate should reflect the risks that are inherent on this property. Again, that is the site not being serviced and the site having limited parking due to its irregular configuration. So for those reasons, we've applied a cap rate of 7.25% to the subject property. And this has resulted in our final value of $492,000. The remainder of my brief is just the assessment information here. And also, before I forget to mention, our cap rate study includes the 5% non-recovered allowance. So if the board were to reduce that or eliminate the non-recovered expense allowance, then we do feel that there should be an adjustment in our cap rate of 25 basis points. I provided the alternative calculation on the last page of my brief here to include that reduction. And we can see that the final value would be $496,000. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
I thank you. Questions of the applicant, Mr. Assessor?
I do have one on page 12 of your brief. If you could just refer to your capitalization rate comparables. I just wanted to know if you find that your comparable cap rates adequately support the subject, seeing as how they are significantly larger as well as older than the subject property. The property or the subject property we have is 3,375 square feet, and your comparables are the lowest comparable square footage is 32,000, ranging up to 58,000.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, yes, the comparable sales that we've provided, they are significantly larger than the subject. However, these were the ones that we were able to identify. We can see from the broker studies that our cap rate would be supported. We're within range of that. And yeah, for those reasons, again, we're looking at a site that's not serviced. Again, limited parking. So we do feel that based on our study that a cap rate of 7.25% would be fair.
Okay, so just going back to that, I guess, just to reference the square footages, would you not agree that buildings of a larger size or possibility of being multi-tenanted would have a higher risk?
Not necessarily. I mean, understandably so. The subject is smaller than our comparable sales here. However, if that building were to ever go vacant for whatever reason there is, then the owner would be liable for maintaining the building, paying the property taxes, etc. So I think there's risks inherent in that in being a single tenant property like this too.
All right, that's all for my questions. Thank you.
I thank you. Mr. Marks?
No questions for me, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Celine?
So have you inspected this property?
I did not have a chance to inspect the property, no, but I do drive past this area quite often.
Now, this tenant is the same tenant that's always been in the building. It's a tenant and there's a landlord, obviously, but it's been the same tenant since day one, I believe I heard. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. What had happened was that the tenant actually owned the building, but then sold it in 2010 through a leaseback arrangement. So then they owned it, then now they're leasing it back to the current landlord.
You've given a number of properties that, for comparison, have you inspected any of those properties that you put up as lease comparables?
I have not had the opportunity to inspect any of these properties, any of my lease comparables now.
When it comes to unserviced properties, do you know what it would cost to put in the services to this property?
I do not know.
That's all my questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much.
I thank you. I just have a couple questions. Did you look at other comparable properties to develop a cap rate where the properties in question have no services at all? Because there's got to be almost like a category where they're fully serviced and they're not serviced. So did you look at that at all? And did you develop a cap rate in that regard?
No, our office hasn't developed a cap rate for properties that are unserviced.
Okay. So basically what you're saying is that this cap rate that you're using is a 7.25 is applicable to, like warehouse like this of similar size and in similar size land also, but you can't distinguish between service and unserviced.
No, all I can really distinguish on is the cap rates that we've identified in our cap rate study. And those cap rates and those properties were serviced. So considering the fact that this site isn't, again, it's a single tenant property. It carries its own risk with being a single tenant if that tenant were to ever vacate. So those are the factors that I consider in choosing the cap rate.
Okay, so your cap rate study is applicable to the property and you're using the 7.25% cap rate.
It's applicable, but it would require adjustments for the factors that I've been mentioning.
All right. I have no further questions. Either party wants summation at all?
I'm good, thank you.
No summation, thank you.
All right. I think Travis, you did an excellent job, so thank you very kindly. You are done. Ryan, thank you for your presentation and results very soon. So we have heard all the scheduled items of this hearing, and this hearing is now adjourned. So thank you, gentlemen, for appearing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Everyone have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we can shut it